Meanwhile, in California, the Democratic governor is warning that a surge in coronavirus cases and hospitalizations may trigger drastic new stay-at-home orders. Gavin Newsom implied that he could impose the additional restrictions within the next couple of weeks, targeting areas where hospitals are most at risk of being overwhelmed by patients. But many residents and business owners are now pushing back. So let's bring in Congressman Greg Steube of Florida. Congressman, thanks very much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We are seeing more restrictions being imposed by some of these governors, particularly in some of these blue states. But we are also starting to see, I think, more and more people getting really just tired of this and not being able to stand what's going on with the damage that's being done to businesses. How do you think this is going to play out?
Well, finally, Americans have said enough is enough. We listened to you in the beginning. You said we're going to just shut down for 3 weeks and bend the curve and flatten the curve and all these different things that the scientists allegedly were saying. And then we were going to go back to a normal life. Yet you see Democrats all across the country. You see Mayor Lightfoot in Chicago. She's with a whole bunch of people around her, maskless at a rally. You see the mayor of D.C. at a Biden rally. You see all of these Democrats doing whatever they want to do in violation of their own COVID restrictions and rules, while restaurants and business owners in these democratically led cities and democratically led states are being decimated by the economic impact of shutting down their businesses. Thank God I live in the state of Florida, where our governor hasn't done that. And you don't see a spike in cases here. You have kids here in school. 99.9% of the people under the age of 50 who contract COVID-19 don't die from COVID-19. So why would we shut down the entire economy when there's absolutely no scientific basis for lockdowns across the country?
Congressman, you mentioned exactly the double standards on display by some of these Democratic leaders in some of these states. You mentioned Lori Lightfoot, you've seen Gavin Newsom, as we talked about in California, telling people not to eat out and then going out and eating maskless at one of the most expensive restaurants in the world with a large bunch of friends. We've seen another story in LA. We've seen the San Jose mayor, I think today, apologizing for going to a Thanksgiving party. What is it about these Democratic politicians that you do as I do and not do as I say?
Because it's all about power.
Sorry, the other way around. Do as I say, not do as I do. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all about power. I mean, look at Speaker Pelosi, who has laid out a mask mandate in the Capitol, yet she doesn't follow the own restrictions in her city of San Francisco when she's getting her hair done by wearing a mask. And there's no actual protocol in the United States Capitol in the House for members coming in and out. Just, everybody's required to wear a mask. There were more requirements at the home that I went to at my grandfather today, with temperature checks and logs and all of this different things, than at the Capitol of our country. You're just required to wear a mask, and we're going to shun you and require you to leave the House floor, the home of democracy, if you're not doing what Speaker Pelosi tells you to do. It's all about power, and I'm glad to see the U.S. Supreme Court finally starting to shut down some of these orders, like Governor Cuomo's order in New York as it relates to religious institutions. Finally, you're starting to see the courts get involved here and say, look, we have a right to our religious beliefs and our right to exercise our religious beliefs, and it's good to see the U.S. Supreme Court shutting down some of Cuomo's orders.
Congressman, you mentioned obviously you're in Florida. The media has been talking about Florida for the last 6 months, screaming hysterically, most of them saying this is, you've got a Republican state, Republican governor, and, deaths are going to rise, hospitalizations are going to rise if you keep the economy open. But tell us your experience. Actually, as you just said earlier, you have got cases rising, it's true, and you have had some increase in hospitalizations, but the economy is doing okay. And as far as I can tell, you're not suffering huge numbers of serious casualties and serious cases from the virus.
No, and the hospitals are doing fine. They're not overrun. If you look at the percentage of positivity rates, it's not skyrocketing. It's not over 10% in Florida. Kids have been in school here in Florida since May. My own son, I had him in-person schooling. They did temperature checks as the kids came in. There wasn't any incidences. There wasn't any issues. Kids need to be in school. Businesses need to be open. If you're in one of those high-risk class, if you're over the age of 70 and you have other morbidities, then you need to be careful and stay at home, bring food in, the type of things you need to do to protect yourself. But we shouldn't shut down our entire economy nationwide because of a disease that only kills 0.01% of those under the age of 50. It just doesn't make sense.
Congressman Steube, thank you very much. I was looking at the data just today. You still have lower numbers in Florida in terms of the fatality rate than we've had in New York. And, Florida's remained open. New York has been still largely shut down for the last 6 months. Congressman Steube, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.